This is my 2014 Tesla Model S. It's the S85 model. And I'm going to talk about the things that I love about this car and some of the things that I'd really find annoying about this car. And yes, I do have two of them, so that kind of gives you an idea of how I feel about these cars overall. But unlike a lot of Tesla fanatics, which I'm not, I'm going to be very fair in my assessment and talk about some of the things that a lot of people who are Tesla fans would never bring up. These cars are great overall, but there are a lot of things that really bother me about them. Now, I'm not going to go into every feature because there are plenty of videos out there already covering these things. I'm just mainly going to talk about the things that are really that really stand out to me, and both positive and negative. So let's talk about the key things that I really like about having one of these things. So here is my gas station. Really nice to get in the car every day and have essentially a full tank. So that's one of the best parts about owning a Tesla or an electric vehicle in general. And we have solar at our house, so it doesn't really impact our electrical bill much. We also have it set to charge at after 9 o'clock, which if you live in California, those are considered off-peak hours, which means that the electricity is at its cheapest. One of the things that I really like about this car is the ample space on it. So for example, you know, those seats fold down, and when they fold down, it really gives you a ton of additional storage space. The car's a little dirty right now, but yeah. We also have bags down here below. So most cars, you'd have a fuel tank over here, right? So instead of a fuel tank, they just give you an additional storage space. We also obviously have storage in the front area. So there's additional storage in the front of the car. Having come from other luxury cars like Mercedes-Benz and Jaguar, the interior design is quite different. It's a very minimalist design, which I've actually grown to really like, and actually prefer over some of the really busy European sedan interiors. I recently test drove the Audi e-tron, and it was actually comical to me how ridiculous the number of buttons and switches got, and it just seemed unnecessarily busy and complicated. Whereas with the Tesla, the simple touchscreen, it's a really clean and logical layout in some ways. I'll get to that later on, the negative parts later on. But you know, the car has 69,000 miles on it now, and I'm actually really impressed with the way that the interior and particularly the seats have held up. They are really in good shape. I think this is their synthetic leather, and it's really nice. I mean, like, there's a really nice soft tactile feel to it. Feels like very nice. It's just a very nice place to be in. You know, our son is 8 years old, and as you can imagine, 8-year-old boy can do a lot of destruction, and he's actually well, he's made the back of the car pretty dirty. It's actually held up really well. I mean, there's hardly any damage back here. In fact, there's none really. So the ride of the Model S is actually quite comfortable. It's actually a very nice place to be inside this car. Seats are really comfortable. and it's really quiet, which is a very nice change. I can't tell you how many times when I've been driving internal combustion engine cars, and you get on the throttle and it makes a huge racket, and you end up looking and sounding like a douchebag to other motorists, because you just sound like you're showboating, even when you're not trying to be. So one of the benefits of an electric car is that it's so silent that you could just get on it and not really draw attention to yourself. So going back to the ride comfort in this thing, it's really nice. It's got some really nice, this car comes with the adjustable suspension, so I can adjust the suspension. I can adjust my steering from sport to comfort mode. There's different settings. I can adjust my acceleration. So it's in that regard, it's a really nice car. Another really nice feature with these cars is obviously the Autopilot. Everyone talks about it. This car has Autopilot 1, which is the first generation. It does a really good job. So here, I'll turn it on now. And hands are off the steering wheel, and it steers by itself. It stays really nicely between the lanes. I've tried the Audi e-tron's AI system, and it's really primitive compared to this. It had a tendency to kind of wander off a little bit and then correct itself, so it made for a real herky-jerky drive. But with the Autopilot, it's great, particularly if you live in a busy city area like I do, with a lot of bumper-to-bumper traffic. It's as soon as traffic gets into that slow stop and go, which I really don't like, I just let the car do all the driving. And then when you want to turn it off, it's just a simple, it's like cruise control. You can either touch the brake pedal, or you can just push the rocker back down, and it turns off. So how comfortable is the Model S? Well, it's actually quite a comfortable car. It's the ride quality is up there with the Jags and the Mercedes Benzes that we've had in the past. What's interesting about the Model S is that you really feel like you're sitting on top of the car, as opposed to, for example, the Model 3, which is a newer platform. In the Model 3, you feel as if you're sitting inside the car, and it's a lot more of a engaging driving experience compared to the Model S, it just feels like you're on top of the car, and you never really feel as engaged in the driving with the Model S. So on a twisty road, the car does respectably well. It doesn't have the very engaging steering like you'd find in an Alfa Romeo or like in a BMW or Porsche, but it's not bad. It's a large car, and that's a thing that I notice the most is on a twisty road, you really do feel the weight and the heft of this car. It's also a very wide car, so when you start going into really twisty roads, you don't have a lot of road to set up for a turn. You're basically as wide as your lane, so it's not that great when it comes to twisty mountain roads, just because it's such a big car to begin with. But that's pretty much a common problem for any kind of car of this size. Speaking of size, this is quite a large car. The reason we got this is because we needed space to carry not just my wife and my son, but also my mother. And we can fit 5 adults in this car, no problem. Now, this car doesn't come with the third row seat, but some Teslas have a third row seat back there, and your occupants face backwards, kind of like the old rumble seats of the 1960s and 70s. With that sloped glass, I've never tried it before, but with that slope glass, it feels like it'd be rather claustrophobic. I'm not sure if I'd be comfortable sitting back there, but it does, you know, Tesla does offer a third row seat. So between never having to fill up for gas again and never having to drive in bumper to bumper traffic, those two reasons alone are enough for me to get another Tesla. Now let's talk about the negatives that make me reconsider a Tesla for my next car. The first thing is you are supposed to be able to get in and out of the car and start the car using just your phone app. But if I'm approaching the car from the passenger side and try and open the car door with my phone app, I can't. I literally have to walk around to the other side, get inside the car, and unlock it from the screen. Now, I've had the Tesla tech come over and look at it, and he at first said, oh, it's some kind of a setting, and he couldn't figure it out. So if the Tesla tech can't figure it out, obviously it's some kind of a failure in the design here. Another one of my big annoyances on this car is that sometimes the software is really slow to catch up. So I have the key on my body right now, and I'm in the car, and I'm gonna put it in drive, and it's not gonna recognize it half the time. Maybe not half the time, but maybe once out of every 5 or 6 times, the car doesn't recognize that I'm sitting in the car with the key in me. And so I'll try and put it in park, I'll try and put it in reverse, I'll try and put it in drive, and it doesn't recognize those commands. And I have to sit here and pump the pedal a few times before it recognizes what's going on. Another issue that I have with this car is that sometimes it doesn't recognize that I have the key on me. I can be in this car such as now, and I have the key right here, and sometimes I'll press on the pedal and I'll put it in drive, and the car won't recognize it. It just doesn't know that the key's in the car. I'm not sure what's going on, but I could sit here for about 15 seconds fiddling with this, trying to get the car to go or trying to get the car to go reverse, and it won't do it. Okay, so I'm stepping on the brake pedal and see how long it takes for the screen to wake up. So the car's gone to sleep and it takes this much time to wake up. That's really frustrating, and it's never happened to me while I'm in a rush, but I can imagine how frustrating that would be if I'm in a rush trying to get somewhere. One of the things that is really annoying about Autopilot 1 is that every 30 seconds or so it prompts you to tug the steering wheel. However, what happens is the first prompt is not very obvious, and so what it just does is it just has a little bit of a flashing light on the upper part of the instrument console, which it's really easy to miss. And I can't tell you how many times I've been driving along and didn't realize that the thing was flashing. And so here's an example. Wanted me to tug on the steering wheel. It had been flashing and I didn't see it. So it now warns, it goes to the second level, and now this is the third level. I gotta tug on the steering wheel, and if I don't, it does this: auto steer unavailable for the rest of the drive. So it's basically punished me for not tugging on the steering wheel, and I have to pull over, stop the car, and then put it in park, and then put it back in drive again before Autopilot will allow me to activate it again. So it's really easy for that to happen. I can't tell you how many times it's happened to me now because the prompts aren't very obvious. And comparing it to our other Tesla, which is the Model 3, it's actually, the Model 3 has a much better system of doing it. The entire screen lights up, so you really know. Another issue I have with this car is the headlights. They just aren't very, very bright, and I've heard and read the same complaints by other Tesla owners. They definitely need to be a lot more powerful. So speaking of lights, let's start talking about some of the issues I've had with this car. In 69,000 miles, that's not a lot of miles for most cars, but in 69,000 miles, I've experienced a lot of mechanical issues that a typical car should not have. So this right fog light recently failed on me, and I had to have it replaced. Luckily, I found one on eBay and was able to get it for a good price. So this is the one that failed on me, but in order for them to replace that light, it was 3 hours because it involved taking the whole front bumper cover off. That's a pretty ridiculous design that you have to take the whole front bumper cover off to replace a fog light. So it's about $360 to replace that, and that's from an independent shop and not through Tesla. Another issue I've been having is a rumbling from the rear. I have an appointment with Tesla in 2 weeks to have it addressed, but it sounds to me as if it is the rear hubs, the wheel bearings need to be replaced. It's like a low rumble on the freeway. So 69,000 miles and I need wheel bearings already. That seems a little premature. I also have a clicking sound coming from the rear axle. Seems to be coming from the driver's side rear axle. I also will have Tesla address that, but it seems to me as if it would be something like the half shafts or the CV joint either need to be lubricated or they need to be replaced. But again, at 69,000 miles, needing new half shafts seems a little premature as well. And finally, another mechanical issue that I've had is the front suspension. So I'm getting a clunk on the front suspension when I make a U-turn or when I'm going over speed bumps or ruts on the road. It makes an audible clunking sound. I heard that Tesla has a technical bulletin out for steering rack shims. So I'm hoping it's the steering rack shims, because if it's not, it could be front sway bar end links. But again, at 69,000 miles, the car shouldn't be having these problems already. Another issue that I'm having is the interior trim. So we had this fail on us already once, and so the Tesla sent a technician over remotely to fix it, and when they did so, I believe he moved the interior panel out to get to it. And so now whenever I close the door, you see that? I'll do it again. One more time. There's a lot of, look at this. This whole panel is loose now. So it just rattles and it's really annoying. So again, you know, we've all heard about some of Tesla's questionable fit and finish issues. And that kind of leads me to the next point here, which is, look at this, and then look at this. So you can clearly see that the hood doesn't line up perfectly. Now looking at a lot of other Teslas, that seems to be a pretty common thing, is bad alignment of body panels. So speaking of which, recently I had this issue where you know, you're supposed to be able to open this charger port by pushing the button like that, right? But when it rains, it won't open. And I've actually had to go in with a credit card and slide it in here to pop it out. It just takes a little bit more effort, but I've had to actually manually pop it out. So there you have it. We've all heard about the poorly fitting body panels on these cars and leaks in lenses and things like that. But premature worn out mechanical parts is something else that is probably not talked about as much. Some of these electrical glitches. I do know that Tesla did send me a notice that they will update parts of the MCU at no cost. Hopefully that might address some of these electrical glitches. But you know, walking to your car and not having the door handles present to you so you can't get in your own car for a few seconds, it's a little annoying. And then getting in your car sometimes and the car is still asleep and you have to step on the pedal a few times and try and get the car to wake up, and it's another, you know, 10-15 seconds there. That could be rather annoying too. But essentially, all in all, it has been a reasonably good car. It's a smooth ride. Its acceleration is great. It's never left us stranded. And none of these problems are really, at the end of the day, that big of a deal. So, you know, we're talking about a $100,000 car. So, the question is, you know, is it worth it for that price point? I don't know. I can tell you that when it comes time to replace this Tesla, I may be looking at other options now. At the time, we were really limited in options, but now that you have, you know, as I mentioned, the Audi e-tron, which hopefully they've updated their adaptive cruise control system. I know that Hyundai's got some really highly rated cars, the Polestars, the Ford Mach-E, the Lucids. I don't know, I haven't tested any of the other ones, but I'm certainly going to be looking at them the next time we go car shopping. Anyway, I hope you enjoy this video, and I hope it's been informative and educational. I'd love to hear your comments. Please post them below, and if you like more videos of this nature, please subscribe to this channel. Thanks a lot.